It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is the 16th of January. It happens to be a Friday. For those of you who are listening in the future on bjshow.co, that is the podcast version, and bjshow.us, which is the podcast version on YouTube. John, did I get that all right?
I think you did, and I apologize for eating so deeply, pause, into your segment, Brad. And when I go back on YouTube, I know you won't do this on the original audio, but when I go back on YouTube, I'm going to cut out a little bit of what I said that was inaccurate so that we're not misleading people about cash on hand.
John, I love it when you're inaccurate because that rarely happens. You know,
I know you embrace it. You know what's never inaccurate? It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
That's right, John Combest. It's time for Brad's Top 3. And we can't get away with our top 3 without at least doing, no, hold it. How do we start off the third one again? How do we start off? What is it again now? What do we do?
Kabuki! Kabuki! Kabuki!
No, that's not right. It's... I'm sorry, John. You're going to be sad that you said that to me.
No, I will regret it, but I love Harley Race. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Number 3.
It's number 3.
Okay, what do I pick as number 3? What do I pick as number 3? What do I pick as number 3? Candace Owens. John, have you listened to her lately?
No.
Okay.
And there's no follow-up. Just no, I have not.
Okay, first off, for those of you who don't know who Candace Owens is, she's a relatively young lady. I think she's 36. On the conservative side, she has gone actually cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. This week, and if you know what's going on, there are people saying that both Candace Owens and also the other dude, what's his name?
Nick Fuentes.
No, well, not Nick Fuentes, but let's stick with Candace Owens for a minute. Candace Owens, on her podcast this week, essentially explained that Charlie Kirk was a time traveler. Have you heard about this, John?
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, because originally weren't we just blaming Jewish people for his death?
You know, this is so weird. She used to be a part, I'm pretty sure she used to be a part of Turning Point USA. And there's been this crazy thing since Charlie Kirk's assassination, murder, whatever you want to call it, where she has said this bizarre, weird stuff. And even to the point where they had a summit, so to speak, where Charlie Kirk's widow sat down in private behind closed doors and had a one-to-one with Candace Owens that lasted for about 4 or 5 hours. But you'd think that Candace Owens would essentially say, okay, Charlie's gone. I'm going to just leave it alone. No, she comes out this week and says he's a time traveler. And the reason he was assassinated is because of the time travelers, the people in charge of the time travelers wanted him back. Is this bizarre or what? I mean,
okay, so are you saying, Brad, to give her the benefit of the doubt, because I haven't listened to it, are you sure she wasn't just like making a metaphor, or was she actually suggesting that people from the space beyond want Charlie Kirk to come back home?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Amazing.
It's Bizarro World 101. It's just weird stuff. And now the interesting part of it is she's sort of an interesting woman to begin with because of the fact that she's married to a guy who is a British guy who is like some kind of a multi-millionaire or something like that. I don't know what he's from England or something like that. And did I just lose you, John? I think I just lost John.
No, I'm here.
Okay, it beeped out for a minute. Okay, supposedly she met him, and 10 days later they got married. And then people are saying, well, you know, he's gay. I'm going like, okay, this gets even weirder. Okay, so she's been saying all this weird stuff. I'm not making this up. She said he's a time traveler. And in other words, was not put here by the normal way of being born out of a woman's womb. He was created by some force in another galaxy or something like that created him and put him on almost like what's this the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing? Terminator. He's been put on the planet Earth to do certain things, and apparently the people, his overlords, did not like what he was doing, so they brought him back and they claim that the guy who shot him was also a time. My mic's cutting out here. The guy who shot him was also a time traveler as well too. Is this bizarre, weird stuff or what?
Yeah, sometimes when I hear stuff like this, I wonder if you were a big Candace Owens person and you were listening to her for a long time, at what point do you stop? Or at one point do you say, man, I don't know about this woman anymore.
It's just
like,
so
does she
weird.
still have loyal people?
Oh yeah. She makes a ton of money. I mean, to the point if you look her up on her net worth, depending, those you can't believe those websites, but most of the websites are saying she's worth between $5 and $10 million, and her husband now is supposedly got like $20 or $30 million net worth. So she's not hurting.
Yeah. So I don't mean, Brett, I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't mean like, is she worth a lot of money or does she get a lot of clicks on 30-second videos? I mean, are people who supported her ideologically, have they been turned off by her?
Some people have, because of the fact that people are going like, okay, she used to be this ultra right wing. It would be who would be interesting to ask that question to. We should ask that to Rick and Tracy Ellis. Hey, Rick and Tracy Ellis, do you still like Candace Owens? And hear what they would say, because that would be the ultimate test of whether or not she's still applauded by the far right. Because if Tracy if Tracy said, oh, we don't like Candace anymore, she didn't buy a house for me, then like, okay, we know she's
now, to be fair, Rick and Tracy have a theory that it's not actually Candace. They say it's Candace in name only. They say she's a Kino.
She's a Kino. Well played, Mr. Combest. Well played. Okay, time for number 2.
It's time for Brad's number 2. It's time for Brad's number 2.
John, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm not giving away your exact address, but you live near the former Chesterfield Mall. Is that correct?
Yeah. A proverbial couple Albert Pujols home runs away from it. Yeah.
Okay. The news this morning is that the South County Mall, the second floor is totally closed. I've been in the South County Mall in probably 20 years. The South County Mall, the second floor is totally closed, and they're talking about converting it into some kind of a sports recreational place where it'll be all sorts of games, and you can play different games and play, I guess, like pickleball and stuff like that. Okay?
Yeah, I hope some pickleball. Yeah, we're certainly in need of those places.
Right, since we had the Chesterfield Mall torn down, and the people used to go from Chesterfield Mall over to Harpo's and get drunk. Okay, John, seriously, what happened to the malls? If someone said to you, John, you watch the world every day, you keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the world in the state of Missouri and things like that, why did the malls all go away? With the exception of the West County Mall, which apparently is still doing quite well. And even Galleria is doing so-so. Okay, why did they go away?
Amazon.
But Amazon hasn't been around that long. I mean, as far as, the impact of Amazon, the malls have started to fail, 10 or 15 years ago. And Amazon wasn't really that much of a factor 10, 15 years ago.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so if you go that route, 20 years ago, you could order your Christmas sweaters on Macy's.com.
Okay.
So brick and mortar has declined with the expanse of if you just look at revenue, look at what the revenue that the local governments aren't collecting because of online sales taxes. So there's no need to. So there's a couple reasons. You have people turning to online retailers. Beginning 20 years ago, you could order stuff online instead of parking and walking in and walking through some food court with a bunch of savages running around. That's number one. And then number two, you can buy directly from the manufacturer, but also like with COVID, starting in 2020, everything that you did, you moved to Instacart, you moved to online everything. And now you really got used to ordering stuff in your pajamas with your unkempt hair and your PJ pants on. So why would you drive somewhere? And Brad, I know that I like to make a lot of age jokes about you, but there's a lot of functional people that don't want to walk into Sears and talk to a fellow geriatric about the way that hammers used to be built here in the United States. Now they're all from China. People don't want human interaction anymore. Like, I want to order a hammer and have it show up on my doorstep. Boy, I used to go to Central Hardware. That's the way you learn where the best nails are. I don't care, Brad. I can read an online review.
I think it's sad. I really do. I think it's sad. But the crazy thing about it is if your thesis was correct, then why when you go to Walmart is it packed? Why when you go to Costco is it packed? I'll
tell you why. Because most people in St. Charles County, if your zip code is 63304, you don't want to pay $100 a year to Instacart, and you figure I'm just going to swing by Walmart when I need milk, and I'll buy it when I pick up the kids from school. That's why, Brad.
I don't think that's the case because I go to Walmart, I go to Schnucks, I go to Deerberg's, I sell people. Matter of fact, I was in the Costco Business Center yesterday, and man, there were people in line way back in front of me. And you know what? The interesting thing, John, I actually talked face to face to a couple people in the Costco yesterday. Talked face to face.
Oh wow! I
to
bet
them,
you
John.
made their day.
We had a nice.
Can you imagine when they came back and talked to their family? God, this old guy would not shut up at Costco. It's the last time I'm ever going there. Can I create an Instagram? Can I create an Instacart order? I'm tired of talking to old men at Costco.
Okay, ready for number one?
Yeah,
And
let's do it.
now, big finish, Brad's number.
I am upset about something because I am anti-eminent domain. And if you read the Post-Dispatch yesterday, and I believe this was on KSDK as well as KMOV.com, I didn't check Fox 2. One of the big stories was the city of St. Louis is going after Paul McKee. John, your opinion on this?
I haven't seen what the latest with this is. Why are they going after him?
Well, because if you know the story, Paul McKee, who developed Winghaven and was going to essentially do the same thing in the city of St. Louis and surreptitiously bought up lots of pieces of property. Matter of fact, the interesting part of this story was the publication that did tremendous research on who was buying all these pieces of property in North City was Riverfront Times. And let me think, I go to the Riverfront Times this morning and I don't see any hard-hitting journalism. I see hard-hitting...
Only fan stories. So what happened with McKee, Brad?
Okay.
What's the news about McKee?
The city is planning on blighting all of his properties and essentially eminent domaining them away from him.
Oh, wow. Now, is he not keeping up? Is he not maintaining these properties?
Well, yeah, most of them are not being maintained, but the problem is this is like the classic example of overpromise of underdeliver. He promised that he was going to turn the north side, and the whole thing revolves around the NGA, the multi-billion-dollar facility they built there, and he was going to turn this into like the next the place where he was going to develop essentially like a Winghaven style community where you have shopping embedded in certain parts of the community, and you have on one area you have townhouses, another area you have nice houses, another area you have apartments, and intertwined with all those you have shopping areas that are sprinkled here, there, and everywhere, okay? And it hasn't come to fruition. Matter of fact, he was the one behind the Homer G. Phillips Hospital, which failed. There was a convenience store that he built. There was a grocery store that he built. I believe they're all closed now. And a lot of the properties that he owns have not had anything done with them. And there are still people living in that area that the area has been most of the houses are gone, or either they're in dilapidated shape or are in disrepair or falling down. And the city's essentially saying, okay, we're just going to blight all the property and eminent domain it. We're going to do with what they want. I don't think that's right. And
do you think that they're punishing him because of who he is?
Of course. I mean,
okay, so in other words, if an individual tract of land was owned by just a single Joe Schmo, you don't think that they would come in and blight it. You're saying that they're treating him unfairly because he's Paul McKee.
Well, when I read the story, if I'm not mistaken, he owns I think 180 parcels, and they do say there's other people in the area because as real estate, investors do, when they see somebody sneaking in and trying to do something, people get wind of that, and apparently there's other pieces of property within this area that are owned by other people as well too. Individuals, some developers and things like that. And the city's talking about just going in and taking everybody's property, eminent domain. They don't care who it is, but the guy who is the head guy is Paul McKee. That's the one they're going after because he has the most number of parcels. So he's the big dog in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And has the city offered? What's the city's? I'm sure the city has a high-minded justification for doing this. Did they pretend like they have plans of stuff to do with this land, or did they just say we're taking it anyway?
I don't know. The whole problem that I have is with this eminent domain stuff. I've talked about this before. If I were the governor of Missouri, which I never will be because of the fact that I could never do that, because nobody would ever vote for me, not even John Combest, because I'm an American, he's a Republican. But if I were the governor of the state of Missouri, I would change the laws that eminent domain in the state of Missouri was you go in, and if the government wants an eminent domain a piece of property, they get fair market value, FMV, and then you multiply that times 10, and they come to you, and if your property is worth, $250,000, they say, okay, we're going to buy your property for $2.5 million. Sign here. And most people say, give me that pen. Get what I'm saying?
I think that should apply everywhere except Village of Three Creeks. And the worst part of that place is you can't even get a map anymore because some old broad who used to put them together is now in the clink.
I have the map. It's in the other studio, John. One of these days, I'm going to unroll. It's big. It's probably like 5 feet by 5 feet, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I still remember with kind fondness of Wendy Nordwald personally taking care of me, and she made that map on her big giant Hewlett-Packard plotter printer that was sitting right there in the assessor's office, and I saw the thing printing that map out. I thought to myself, man, there are good days in my life. I don't think there's been a better day in my life than I've been the Warren County Courthouse. Actually, it's not even the courthouse. They moved it down the highway a little bit on 47. It's a different building. It's on Birdsong Drive or something like that. I could be in the Warren County annex to the courthouse watching Wendy Nordwald, who had holes in her dress in strategically placed areas, print a map for me of the village of Three Creeks. John, have you ever had an experience like that in your life before?
Fortunately, no. And when it comes to Wendy Nordwald's attire, I think I read this in your autobiography, and I didn't want to say it on the air because I thought maybe it was PG-13. But what you forget to say is that you claim that Wendy made you pay a nominal fee for it. In exchange, though, you just swap maps. Do you remember what you did?
I think it was like $32 I had to pay, something like that. It wasn't cheap.
Yeah, but that's what you say on the air. But in your autobiography, you admit you actually just made a map of Hawaii all over her dress.
That's not the case. Okay, we have to take a break.